everyone, welcome back to The Last of Us Part 2, Season 2, mini podcast with myself, GreendotEmo.
And that guy, Jakey.
Well, again, just to let you all know, this is going to have a lot of spoilers for the episode 4, and for the game. So if you have not watched or played, and you don't want any spoilers, stop listening now. Right, so we are on episode 4. After the disaster of episode 3 last week, we hoped that this episode would be much better because of what happens in the game. And I'm just gonna put a little disclaimer out there now. This episode was going so well. It was actually going very well. There's been a few changes they've made, and we get to explore some characters as well. But then I think the last 20 minutes, that's when we're going to have a little bit of an issue. We'll get to that in a moment. So in terms of character development, this week we get to see Isaac. Big boy Isaac. And in the game, we don't really get to explore Isaac much. We see him, maybe once, twice, something like that. Yeah. But we do hear about Isaac and the things that he's done, the things that he's going to do, what he's like. But in the series, we've actually got to see Isaac himself, and they've given us a little backstory of where he came from. So he essentially was a Fedra agent, and essentially they showed us that he basically turned on Fedra and joined the WLF. So he killed off a bunch of them, which it was funny because we saw Josh from Drake and Josh in there, just giving his little story. Yeah, that was a bit fun. But yeah, he essentially just chucked a grenade in the truck, locked them up, and blew them up. But he took one guy with him, one who we actually see later on in the series. So I'm wondering if they're going to do a bit more with him. But yeah, he took him with him. He was kind of like an inexperienced kid. So he gave him the choice of, hey, do you want to join me with the WLF? And he shook hands with the lady. Or do you want to end up like them, Fedra? So clearly this kid went with Isaac. And then we swiftly move on to Day 1 Seattle. So I think it was really cool that they kept this episode named as Day 1. Now we know where exactly we are in the game. We have Day 1, Day 2, and then Day 3, if I'm not mistaken. So at least we know where we are in terms of how things pan out. Now, one of the things that they did was they basically kind of gave you that clue that Dina was pregnant quite early on. We saw her throw up in the previous episode. Yeah. Then we see her throw up again in this episode. But she goes and gets a pregnancy test and then tells Ellie, hey, I'm just going to go take a pee. You don't see the pregnancy test, but we all know that's what it is. Yeah. But one thing they did different for this episode compared to the game was that they kind of combined the open worlds. So in the game, you have like a massive open world where they go in into like the bank, the pet store, the music store, etc. But then there's also the other open scene of where it's kind of more rural, where you had like the petrol station, where you went to the tool bench where that guy just kind of bursts out and tries to kill you straight off the bat. And then you also see like, all the pride flags and stuff on the floor, etc.
But it didn't include the bank, which was,
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed they didn't include the bank. Just because in the bank, first of all, you come across some more clickers. And also, you go into one of those little boxes and you find Nathan Drake's ring, which would have been a cool addition for this season, as they had Sam's lighter in the first season. Yeah. So it would have been a nice nod to Uncharted 4 or Uncharted in general for this season.
But they, with the open world section, it would have been nice to see some infected and stuff, just because it would have, made the area seem unsafe. Right now, it was just like an empty area, which was just them exploring, and you don't really see them explore as much. But that scene was good. That scene was alright. Yeah, I didn't really mind it too much. Really, I mean, they came and did what they had to do and bounced.
Yeah, it's a long segment in the game, so we understand that they weren't going to spend too much time on it because it's a lot of exploration. One thing they did miss out though, which we haven't come across yet, and I was hoping they would, the trading cards. So in the first season, we had a little nod to the the comics and the joke books, And now this season, in the second game, you find trading cards, which Neil Druckmann actually has a trading card. And we haven't seen any trading cards this season. So
I'm going to be honest with you. If Neil Druckmann directed this or written it, I think those little things would have been in it. Especially with the Uncharted stuff.
Yeah.
That's his baby. So it would be nice to see those type of things in the game as a nice little nod. I mean, general public probably wouldn't understand it, but for the gamers that's seen the series, that's played the game and watched the series, it would have been a nice little nod, you know?
Yeah, a nice little Easter egg. We do get to see a little glimpse of the TV station as well. So they do zoom out with their little binoculars and we see the TV station. So I was very happy to see that. I was hoping they weren't going to cut that scene out because it was a really good scene, number one. And number two, it was a bit more of an introduction to the Seraphites as well. So you can see what kind of damage they do. And it's that whole question of, ooh, this wasn't a WLF. Who did this? Oh, there's like blood on the wall in this symbol. What on earth is this? So there's a lot of questions that you not necessarily get answered, but they give you a bit more clues at the TV station. So saying that, with the whole, combined open worlds, etc., we do get to see the Take On Me scene. So in the game, if you've never played the game before, this is actually a missable scene. So if you go into the music store, there is like this little green area with this nice light shining through, but you have to go upstairs. So if you don't go upstairs and go around one of those little corners, you will absolutely miss it, which a lot of people actually did. So Ellie finds a guitar in the case. She opens it up and it's nice and clean. It looks like it hasn't really been used. A little bit like her guitar at home, I suppose. And then, she sits down, tunes it up. And in the game, you actually do it yourself with the little touchpad on your controller. Yeah, she tunes it up. Dina's downstairs just kind of messing around with the drums. She doesn't know how to play. And then, Ellie just breaks out and starts singing Take On Me, like her little acoustic rendition, which Bella Ramsey did. So we know that Bella Ramsey can actually play the guitar. So that was a nice little touch. And then Dina comes upstairs and she hears the music. And then she sits down in front of Ellie. And, it's one of those scenes where it's like the giraffe scene in the first game. There's so much bad happening around. They're on this, hateful, revengeful mission, even though it doesn't feel like it. But it's a scene that they just kind of throw out there to say, there is some sort of normality. And it just kind of gives you that little pause, that little breather, which is what they kind of need sometimes as well. So, in comparison, it's like the giraffe scene in the first game, but this time you have Ellie singing. And it's also like a little reminder that this is what Joel taught Ellie to do.
Wow.
I mean, she does mention it as well.
She mentions it, but that was one of the biggest scenes that they got rid of with episode 1 or even episode 2. Probably just episode 1, actually. We should have seen Joel come into Ellie's room and showed her how, or just played the future days in front of her. I don't know. It was just a nice little gesture, because he came into the room with the guitar and he was basically like, oh, let me show you what I can do with the guitar, because I've always said that I could play the guitar, but you've never seen me play the guitar.
Yeah.
And in this show, all he did was take the guitar and walked out.
Yeah, to fix it.
Yeah. And you never saw him with the guitar ever again. Now, will they include that later on in the series? Maybe. Just because it will be like Joel used to play guitar. This is what he sounded like. It was just like, it would be a nice little heartfelt moment,
I think there is a scene coming up. I don't know what episode, because I've seen the pictures, the promo pictures, and there's a little part in, the full trailer of what is coming. Yeah. And there is a scene where she's sitting down on a chair and he's sitting down on a chair. I don't remember if they both had a guitar or if one of them had a guitar. So
is that not the ending of this show?
No, it wasn't the porch scene.
Oh, okay.
It was a different one. But again, it's one of the issues we're having with this season is certain placements of certain things, which we'll get to in a moment, because there is something that happens in this episode which just, the placement was just awful.
It's all off.
And it's just, it's very off. It just doesn't make sense at all. But the Take On Me scene was nice. The game did it better.
The game did it way better, but it's just,
Yeah, it was still a nice addition, and again, an important scene to have.
Yeah.
Then we move to Isaac, present day Isaac.
Yeah.
My guy is at the stove, and he's heating up a pan, and he's talking. He's just talking. You don't see if he's talking to anyone. He's just talking away. Then he turns, and you can see there is a Seraphite, full-blown naked, mashed down, tied up. And he's basically just trying to get information from them. It's kind of like he wants to recruit the Seraphites and move them over to WLF. But clearly they're not going to. And they believe in Mother, So, yeah, he just... it was like a massive torture scene. We get to see what Isaac is really like.
Yeah.
He tells my guy to hold out his hand.
Without a second, my man just steamed his hand, and that was it.
And then you hear, like, there's 2 WLF outside the door, and you can tell one of them is a bit like, oh, man, like, is this what's going on?
Felt sorry for him.
Yeah. But then there's this other one who's like, good.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
He deserved it.
And then when the camera pans, you realize it's the same kid that Isaac picked up at the very beginning. But it comes to a point where Isaac is just trying to get information, and this Seraphite is not letting up. And then he's just like, goes to warm up the pan again. The Seraphite literally had his hand held out. He was ready.
Like, yeah, I'm ready, man.
I'm ready for it.
It's numb now anyways.
Yeah,
so.
it's done. So at that point, Isaac is just like, I'm done with you. Pulls out the gun, shoots him, kills him. Done, dusted.
Yeah, nothing else.
So we know that Isaac is someone not to mess with. And again, this is like the best part of this episode, seeing Isaac, because he's a character, like I said at the beginning, we don't get to explore really much in the game. So
yeah, I generally think the game kind of wasted him in a way, because like there was no like boss fight or anything, It was, you only saw Isaac in cutscenes, literally. So you didn't really feel the fear of him or whatnot. Like, he was serious, he was intimidating. You didn't really experience him. Even when you play as Abby, like, there was no scene where it was like you or Abby and Isaac on a mission or something,
Yeah.
It was just all in cutscenes.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's nice to see him do his duties in the season so far. Hopefully they will utilize him a bit more, and maybe we can see some kick-ass moments with him.
I'm really hoping so, especially for the next season.
Yeah.
Because obviously the way this season is going, it's going with the game. So the first part of the game is with Ellie, second part of the game is with Abby.
Yeah.
And it's the second part of the game where we actually like really get to see Isaac, especially when you're playing as Abby. So it would be cool to see a bit more interaction between him and Abby. Maybe even like when we find out what Owen's done, and he's sending people out to go and get Owen now. So it will be interesting to see a bit more Isaac in the second season.
Yeah.
Or third season, I should say. I keep thinking about it as the second season.
I know.
Because it's part 1 and part 2. So after Isaac, we are at the TV station. One change they did here was that they did it at night. And I understand why they did it at night, because of what happens afterwards. But yes, we get to see the TV station, and we get to see the brutality of what the Seraphites have done. And then WLF, they burst through, and then they're seeing what's happened as well, and they're just like, this isn't our guys, what's happened, etc. So Ellie and Dina need to get out of there, which again, it's good to see that we have the TV station bit,
but it was rushed,
but it also doesn't really have that much meaning, because the season, the whole point of them going to the TV station in the game is that they're following Tommy's path.
Exactly.
There is no Tommy here this time. So it's like they're going to these areas, but they don't have as much meaning as they did in the game.
Yeah. I feel like they're just really just hitting the main beats of the game. Like, they showed the hanging people, they showed the hanging people, and then it just went straight to them being upstairs. They did what they had to do, and then WLF burst through, fought a little bit, and bounced. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no discovery.
That's what I mean.
There's no discovery, no intensity. The music, like I said in episode 1 and episode 2, like, the music was like always on point. Like, it felt intense. Where is it?
There was nothing.
Where is it? Where's the music?
That guy Jake is getting high again.
I'm sorry, like it's the music that really brings a lot of intensity to the game, impactfulness, you know.
Yeah.
But like we just,
like I said, they're hitting the key points.
Yeah.
But the key points don't mean as much
because there's nothing in between. It's like creating a final project without no build up to it, without no concept art or anything. You know, it's just you and the final work, and that's it.
Yeah, it's a shame because like the first 2 episodes of this season, I want to say close to perfection. Like I enjoyed them so much, and I was ready for this season. And then episode 3 happened, and it really just dragged it down. And then this episode happened, and it was building it back up. And then when we get to around this part of the episode, it starts to drag down a bit. It starts to reel you in. Which, I don't know, like the game is so much more dark compared to what we're watching right now.
It's funny how a lot of people disagreed with how Joel dies early in the game, and they're saying that they rushed the story or it was bad pacing and such. Honestly, I think the show is doing the opposite.
Yeah.
It started off really well, nice pacing and such. Episode 1 and 2 really kind of like got you more interested in Joel, in Jackson.
Yeah, it pulled you
everyone
in.
Else, And now, since Joel's dead, it just seems like it's dragging now. It's rushing, And I genuinely miss Joel.
Yeah.
Now, like in the game, you were so locked in with like finding Abby. You're playing as Ellie. The story's going on. A lot of action segments and stuff. A lot of intense moments and such. Finding your way around, and then you're just focused on your mission. What mission is there?
But that's what I mean. There's no other than obviously the end goal is to find Abby.
Do you even want to find Abby? That's the question. Like, does Ellie even want to find Abby?
We'll get to that. In a minute.
Dina doesn't care. Dina's just tagging along because Ellie's here.
It actually feels like it's the other way around.
Or the other way around now.
It feels like Ellie is tagging along with Dina.
Yeah, because it was Dina that was with Joel anyways.
She's the one that's kind of been leading this whole thing. Well, speaking of Dina, as they leave the train station, the TV station, we get to the train station underground. Before we get to the train station, actually, one of the really cool things that I did like about the TV station scene was that they used the same kind of language that you would have in the game. So you'd have WLF, they were just like, all right, fan out. Yeah. I said fan out. And then when they caught, was it Ellie that they caught? And then they were just like, we got one.
Yeah.
It's that kind of language that you hear in the game in the background. Yeah. Because the really cool thing about the second game is that the NPCs, like, they all have names and they can speak to each other. And if someone's dead, they'll go and investigate. It's not like automatic. They don't.
They all have relationships.
Yeah, and they don't run the same cycle where they'll go around this corner and then go to this corner and then go to that corner. Yeah. So you can figure out where they're walking. Like, they're random. So that was one of the really cool things about the second game. So that was really that was one thing I called out when I heard it. It felt like the game at that point. But yeah, we get to the train station, and again, an important scene which they kind of rushed it, and it didn't have the big impact we wanted it to have. So in the game, you end up by the carriages, and then the WLF come out. They're looking for you, and then you hear that there are clickers in there. So the idea is that you make a little bit of noise, so you can find a bottle and you dash the bottle, let the clickers come out and deal with WLF. Yeah. And then you can, I don't know, you can try and sneak out if you like, or you can kill a couple of clickers and make your way out, right? In the episode, which again, I don't understand. It's like they've dumbed down Ellie so much. Dina is the one that's like, shh. And then she's hearing the clickers and she's putting up her fingers and she's counting from the sounds of what they make, how many like clickers and infected are by. Like, I think it was the clickers she was counting down, because there was infected as well, but she was counting how many clickers there were. Why is she the smart one?
She's not meant to be a hunter.
Why does it feel like she's leading this show?
Ellie's been doing this for how many years?
Exactly. Ellie's been with Joel for how long? Like, longer than 5 years, because they've been living in Jackson for 5 years, right? And Dina is the one that is, telling Abby how to pack her bag in the last episode. Finding out all the information about where Abby and stuff is. Now she's the one counting down how many clickers there are. Like, Ellie's doing nothing.
Yeah.
Ellie's just like, Ellie feels like the NPC.
Yeah.
Dina is supposed to be the one to just give you a little bit of backup, but she's also going to become your baggage. It's just like it's the opposite.
It happened in the TV tower as well.
Yeah. And the TV station was Ellie that got caught, right?
Yeah. Well, not really caught, but like Ellie was trying to take one WLF down, which should have been an easy job.
Yeah.
But no, she tries to strangle him. Instead of taking out your little pen knife here that you carry around throughout the entire game.
Yeah, where's her knife?
She doesn't have a knife.
But it's her mum's knife.
She's meant to have a pen knife, yeah, where she carries around everywhere. That's her melee weapon, or melee weapon, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But no. She strangles my man. And he's not even dead. But by the time the other guy comes, he's not even dead.
And you know what?
So Dina's like, you know what, Ellie, you're taking too long. All right? We need to bounce. Let me just shoot this guy in the head, yeah, and we bounce.
You know what else they're missing from this as well? Which it becomes a big thing when you get to the whole theatre scene and then you're Abby and you have to basically do the whole David scene with Ellie. Where's the crafting?
There is no crafting.
There's no crafting.
There's no needle bombs. There's no smoke bombs.
There's no
Molotovs. There's just not even a knife.
And
there's no knife, no machete.
Do you know what else is missing?
No bow.
That's what I was just about to say.
Where the flip is the bow?
The bow is the main part of this.
My statue's literally right in front of me right now, and she has bare weapons in her bag.
When she was packing up, I forgot to mention this last episode. When she was packing up last episode, and they gave her the rifle, I was like, okay, but where's the bow?
There's nothing.
She is supposed to be the master of the bow. That is your silencer.
No baseball bat. They don't find anything. They're
just running around with a little gun.
You know why? Because the world is safe. All right? There's barely any infected. All right? WLF is nowhere to be found besides the main key moments.
In Seattle.
There's no random people in empty areas because apparently the place is empty and the place is safe. Just like in the open world section, the whole place is safe. There's literally nothing.
No.
Literally nothing. Until the big segment moments.
Like, I don't feel threatened at all.
It feels like these segments, right? They're putting them in because the game says it needs to be in there.
You have to be in there so they know where
it doesn't seem like, oh, they stumbled across something and they're like, crap, this is unexpected. We need to take this person down. Yeah. No. Let's go to Seattle, right? And let's do this moment because that's what the game says.
Yeah.
That's it.
It
doesn't feel natural. The transition between each scene doesn't feel natural.
But that's what I mean. And you know why?
It feels like I was on my Blu-ray player, right? And I skipped the chapters. I don't know if anyone that's watching this right now, you remember chapters on DVDs and Blu-rays. You press the skip and you go to each chapters. Chapter. Oh my.
It's because they removed Tommy. I'm telling you.
No, but it's not even just that, right? It's the way they've written this show. It's just that they feel like they have to hit each beat of this show.
But I'm saying is that they've done all the key beats.
Yeah.
But there's no trail in between. Yeah. Tommy was leaving a trail. Yeah. And that's what they were following. Yeah. So they got to certain areas because of Tommy. Right now, they're just saying, okay, they need to be in this area. Okay, now they need to be in that area because the game says so.
Look, I have Wikipedia up here, right? No, being serious, yeah. And I was just reading this, actually. It says right here, look, The Last of Us Part 2, Druckmann and Mazin wanted to avoid filler between the games. Part 2 is expected to span multiple seasons, and Mazin does not want the series to overtake the games.
Yes, because they were asking him, like, do you think it's going to be like a season 4 and stuff? And he already said that he's not going to do a Game of Thrones where it passes the game. But from the pacing of this, because we've got 3 more episodes, there's only 2 more days of Seattle left, realistically, of where we are. And if we do get this Eugene episode that I've been hearing about, that will make 3.
We do not need that.
That will make 3. So really, and we can see as well that Neil Druckmann and one of the writers from the part 2 of the game, they're actually written and directed the last 2 episodes. So you know they're going to be heavy-handed. You know Abby is going to show up on that last episode because that's going to be the cliffhanger for season 3.
Thing is though, right? what makes The Last of Us 2 really, really good compared to the first game is that I feel like with the first game, because it was such a linear experience, and yes, there was filler, but they were consistently still on their path.
Yeah.
All right. In part 2, you can stray away from your path a bit, you know, and you don't have to, you know, follow exactly what the game tells you to do. Because obviously technology has become better, so you can, you know, branch out a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's what makes The Last of Us 2 really good and engaging, and it allows you to grow with your characters and the segments and everything, the world. All right. I feel like with season 2, it's just so much more rushed. And that's, personally, I don't think that's a good thing.
No.
As a series, you're meant to expand. The whole point of making this the show is to expand on the world of The Last of Us. Show us things that we didn't see from the game. All right? Just like how we saw Jackson. Why are we skipping over things now?
I don't know. And I do find it weird that...
They're skipping over things. In season 1, the only thing that they didn't really show, which I'm still salty about, is Bill's Town.
Yeah, because they replaced it with
they replaced it with
Frank. Yeah.
That's the only major thing that they kind of really got rid of.
Yeah.
All right.
Everything else was the same.
Yeah. Season 2, how much things have they skipped over so far and changed?
There's been a lot of changes compared to season 1, and there's like added stuff has. I say added. Most of the added stuff has been alright because like the Jackson Town scene, Isaac. They've. Well, we'll get to that in a minute anyways. Well, one of the weird scenes they've added on.
Let's continue.
But, train scene. So that was the important segment because in the game, that's where the spores come out.
Yeah.
And Dina's just like, Ellie, you're breathing spores. And she's like, I told you I was immune. Now, in this one, there are no spores, which, I'm sorry, they said we're getting spores this season. We are 4 episodes in. Where's the spores? I'm disappointed. Where are the spores?
I don't know.
The spores is such an important thing because of the whole gas mask.
Where's the
and
infected?
Ellie. You know, it's just...
I know that they said that there's more infected in this, which is true. But
but still, there's no spores.
Again,
like, you're in the train station. There should be loads of spores down there.
They appear at the right moment. They're not just randomly scattered across the world. They appear when they say they need to appear.
Yeah. It feels like a game, innit?
That's what I'm trying to say. It feels like a structured game or it just feels so scripted.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching a play or something, you know?
Yeah, it is very scripted.
Wow.
But yeah, there's no spores. So what happens instead is, which, again, I don't really like this happening. Ellie has been bitten so many times in this season already. We all know she's immune. It doesn't mean she still wants to get bit. You know what I mean? That's still painful. You know? So Ellie gets bit instead of Dina. She saves Dina and gets bit. And Dina sees the bite. She's holding a gun, mate, because she's like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm pregnant. Ellie doesn't know this. So I'm carrying something else here. And you've just been bit. I'm going to have to kill you.
Bear in mind, guys, Dina's very aware that she's pregnant and she's protective of her stomach. Leaving that here for now.
Yes, very true. So then they manage to get out of the train station, which leads them... Which, again, the train station scene, it wasn't as effective as the game.
It wasn't intense.
Yeah, they went into the carriages, ran through it. The infected come to try and get them in the carriage, and they got out. Like it wasn't intense, but you know, is what it is.
And this was the introduction to the Shamblers,
which they missed out.
They should have been Shamblers.
There were no Shamblers.
Bear in mind, Shamblers are not as aggressive or as big as bloaters, but it was definitely something that they could have at least ran away from.
Oh yeah, and they blow up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this would have been the perfect opportunity to introduce that. Especially that it's like halfway through the season as well. So we've already had the stalkers.
Oh, the stalkers, yeah.
We've had the stalkers, we've had bloaters, we've had infected. We need Shamblers now.
Yeah.
So where are the Shamblers?
We just keep seeing runners. We don't even see clickers.
Yeah, we don't even really see the clickers much anymore. You just hear it.
Like, come on, guys. Like,
they're the main...
This is a big budget show, and you're not showing why it's big budget.
But they're the main... infected.
Yeah.
Like, they're the main villain.
And even the runners, they don't look that... They just look like random people, bruv.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not, like, all, like, close to becoming clickers or anything. They're just, like, they've just been bit.
Yeah.
It's fresh.
Yeah, they're fresh.
They're fresh. So, yeah, they managed to get out the train station, and right in front of them is the theater.
Yeah.
So
coincidentally.
Coincidentally, it's right there.
Yeah, apparently.
I got super excited because I was like, oh, finally, the theater. Like, you know, I can breathe a second. So they get in. One thing I was hoping they were going to do is show the ladder that's around the side. Yeah. They didn't need to do anything with it because you can't climb up it. That was the one thing when you're playing the game. You go and look around and you see this ladder, but you can't climb it because it's too high up. Yeah. It's for you to come down with, and then you can pull it back up. And it's so not obviously placed, but the way that scene is created, when you see like the picture of it, you feel like this is going to come in handy later on. Yeah. Not knowing what's actually going to happen. Yeah. But you know something with this ladder is coming back later, right? We didn't see the ladder at all. Yeah. Nothing. Just nothing. So it does make me wonder, are we going to see it later on? Are they going to make that the entrance for a certain character later on? Or are they just going to remove it? Which I feel like they're just going to remove it, aren't they?
Yeah, because they've changed so much.
Yeah, I feel like they're the type of people that would just remove it. So they're inside. They're inside the theater. Dina wants to shoot Abby because... not Abby. Dina wants to shoot Ellie because Ellie's been bit. Ellie explains, I am immune. Do not shoot me. Look, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go to sleep. You can stay as far away as possible if you want. You can keep the gun on me, but I am immune. Yeah. And then, they go to sleep. There's some water dripping, wakes up Ellie, and then she's like, don't worry, I'm not turning. It's just the water, blah, blah, blah.
Flipping comedy, man.
And, it's just, I thought the game did it better with the
game always
spores.
does it better.
Yeah, with the spores, just because it's more of an immediate thing. Yeah. Like, if she breathed in the spores, she'd be coughing, dying, like, done.
Exactly, yeah.
With a bite, it takes a bit longer. It's dragged out. And unfortunately, we had about, 20 minutes left of this episode? Yeah. And literally, from now until the end of the episode, it's all about Ellie and Dina.
And you know what? I actually just deep this right now, actually. She got bit. On what, a hand or arm?
Her arm.
Her arm, cool. She now has a new scar.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it's another bite.
Remember now, right? This doesn't show it in the game, in the show, but the reason why Ellie has a tattoo is so she can hide her existing bite mark. Yeah. Now she has a new bite mark, which she never was meant to get another bite mark. So what does that mean? Is she gonna get a new tattoo or what?
Exactly. I don't know.
When she goes back to Jackson, if she goes back to Jackson, a little bit of a, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how this game's gonna, this show's gonna go.
But
so
now that you've said that, no, it doesn't work.
It's just more storyline that we don't need.
It doesn't work.
Oh, come on, guys.
Right. So then after the whole bite situation, which again, it's extending on, they've just dragged it out. Dina now then tells Ellie, I'm pregnant. And let me tell you something. In the game, Ellie loves Dina, okay? She's in love with Dina. But she always knew that, Dina and Jesse had a thing, right? And then they broke up, and now she's like, oh, I'm with Dina alone. I know I'm on this mission to kill Abby, but Dina's with me, okay? And then when Dina tells Abby that she's pregnant, Ellie's face drops. She becomes dark, depressed, and then annoyed as hell because now Dina is with her, with baggage, okay? Ellie's like, you need to stay here. I'm going out on my own, mate.
Exactly.
Like, you cannot be here. It's Jesse's, isn't it? Yeah, I'm done. I'm going out to go and do what I need to do. And you're staying here. Yeah. In this episode, okay? I had to laugh.
Opposite.
I had to laugh. Dina tells Ellie, I'm pregnant. Then they both start kissing, making out, and then doing whatever they need to do next. Why are they so happy?
I don't know. Why is Ellie so happy about her being pregnant?
And then she's like, oh, we're having a baby.
I'm a dad.
Oh, what the hell?
Come on.
Why are you happy?
I'm sorry, that is so cheesy.
It was such a bad place. Look, when them two were supposed to be together, that should have happened earlier on in the story when things were a bit more of a happy place. Yeah. Not now.
You know what? It's written so bad.
Honestly, the
scripting.
They've moved things around and it just doesn't make sense. Like I said, when they had that conversation in the tent, 3 months later, oh, do you remember that kiss at the New Year's Eve party? Why are you bringing that up now? And now you're telling her I'm pregnant and you're both having it out and now like everything is happy again. You're supposed to be depressed. You're supposed to be on your way to kill Abby.
It's so questionable why they made Ellie so dopey.
This is what I mean.
Because
they dumbed her down so much.
Look, not gonna be honest with you, right? Ellie was not even dopey from the first game.
No,
she was like playful,
but she was smart,
serious and she was smart.
She was a very intelligent little girl.
In this show, why is she so dumb?
She is dumb.
She's dopey as frig. She smiles at everything. All right, and Joel just died. I'm sorry, Joel just died. Not even just now, actually.
But Joel's
three
been
months
dead.
Previously.
Yeah.
He's dead, right?
You're on a revenge mission.
You're on your way to kill your dad's killer. Your uncle's what am I saying? I don't know what I'm saying. your uncle's dad's killer.
I don't know.
Does that even make sense? I'm not even making as much sense as the show's not making any sense.
No, but you know what as well? This is how dumb they've like dumbed her down, and I don't understand. So she's been living in Jackson for 5 years, okay? Remember in the first season, Maria was the one that told her about like, you know, pads and tampons and stuff, right? Fine, because I know she's been living with Joel for a while.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. She was at that age, right? She did not know what the pride flags were.
Yeah.
When they were walking around, she was like, oh, what are all these rainbow flags? Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. You're telling me nobody in Jackson is from the LGBTQIA community to even bring this up. You're telling me there's none of these flags in Jackson at all. You know, I know Seth didn't like the idea of it, but still, you're telling me in the 5 years, nobody has mentioned anything about this. Not even Dina. Not even Dina has explained to Ellie what all of this means, right? She didn't know how the pregnancy tests were, because when she asked her, oh, how did you know you were pregnant? Yeah. And Dina was like, yeah, I got a pregnancy test and I peed on it. Ellie looked very confused. Yeah. And I'm thinking, so you're telling me you're 19 years old. I know the world is different, but Ellie was able to bring up the whole, you know, 3 astronauts that were supposed to go to the moon and got blown up and in their first mission, right? And didn't make it off. She knew about that. She knows everything about space and guns and blah, blah, blah. But she doesn't know those little things. And like I said, I understand it doesn't need to be a conversation that comes up all the time because it's a different time. But I'm sure there are literature around the town. There's people who are part of these communities. Yeah. Someone would have said something for 5 years. Come on.
I know.
Come on.
It's just, yeah.
They've made Ellie dumb.
I'm sorry, like, the writing and the script and the way these episodes and show has been written, even with season 1 as well, I think it's not the same. It's not the same as the game, which is fine.
Yeah, we know it's going to be a bit
but they
different
weren't written good.
No.
That's and I think that's what's frustrating, right? Is the fact that yes, they've made changes, which I'm open for, all right? Because again, like I said before, this show is meant to expand on the game, but it's written poorly. Mm-hmm. The script is poorly.
Yeah, and
you change characters, you change important segments. How are the audience that hasn't played the game is meant to understand the original story of the game?
This is what I want to know.
Please. Because this is what the show is here for. Is to bring more audience into the show. I'm gonna be into the series. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? This is probably just gonna cause more arguments in the future because one person is gonna be like, oh, you know the story of The Last of Us? You know when Tommy goes after Abby, and the person's like, that didn't happen. What do you mean?
Exactly. The season 1 kept the main core of the game.
Yeah.
Season 2 has removed it.
The person that's seen the show and never played the game, they're gonna be like, wait, Tommy didn't go after Abby. Tommy stayed in Jackson.
No.
Why did Ellie go after Abby?
No, exactly. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know.
It's so poorly adjusted. Like, it's so weird, man. And I love the game, and I'm not even showing my emotion because I love the game. I'm just disappointed with the way they're handling the show. Yeah,
it's not structured very well. And like I said, there's certain things that they've moved around, which they've kept, but they've moved around, and it just doesn't work. Like this whole Ellie and Dina thing. I feel like they're stretching out their whole relationship.
Yeah.
But in the game, and making a main point of the season, where in the game, it's not necessarily a main point, but you know, it happens at the right times. Like, it was placed strategically.
This should have been in episode 2.
for certain things. Yeah, why are they doing this
should
now?
have been in episode 2. Because for anyone that hasn't played the game, well, you shouldn't be watching this, but for anyone that hasn't played the game, this should have happened right before Joel's death.
Yeah.
Well, when Joel gets caught and Tommy.
Yeah, because they were in the weed house.
And then they hear something on the radio. They heard something on the radio, and then they're like, crap, we need to head back.
Yeah.
They head back to No, they didn't head back to Jackson, but they were on their way.
Yeah, they went looking for Joel, I think.
Yeah. Dina went back to Jackson, actually.
Yeah, Dina went back to
Jackson. And then Ellie was like, I need to go and find Joel because he's not here.
Exactly.
He's not here. I need to go find him. So she goes off on her own, right? She sees all these tracks and stuff from Abby and her mandem and stuff, even with Joel as well, the horse tracks and whatnot, right? She goes there and she sees a cabin and she's like, damn, let me go in there. And that's when the big segment happens.
But that's what I mean. They've removed so much of the important parts of the story, and I don't even mean like the big segments. It's just those little things in the background. Like,
again, the filler, as what my man has said on Wikipedia. The filler is not really filler. It's important segments.
Yeah.
There's a difference between filler where it's completely unnecessary and it's just there just to add some extra bits to the story, which you don't need to watch it. All right, you can easily skip it and you don't miss anything. The filler that we need, all right, is important segments which is not so crucial towards the story. I don't know if that makes sense, but essentially you will understand why certain things happen if you watch this. But if you don't watch it, don't worry, you can still gather it later on. Simple as that. It's just like, in the game when you're walking towards the bar with Jesse in the game, right? Again, completely unnecessary. We didn't have to walk with Jesse, but those conversations that they had was pretty interesting. You learn more about Jesse, and you learn more about what happened, or like right before Ellie wakes up. Those are fillers that we need in the show. And this is why I feel like this season should have been 9 or 10 episodes. Because this game is significantly longer than the first game.
Yeah, it needs a bit more time to breathe.
It really does. It needs to marinate a little bit more. There needs to be build up to these big segments.
Yeah.
There was no build up to the train station. They just went into a train station and that was it.
Because they were running from the TV station.
Suddenly, they came out of the train station and there we have it. The theater's right there. They didn't even walk.
And again, they didn't even make the... I know when you're playing the game, the theaters, like, you don't really know that the theater is going to be like a massive part of this game, but it's still, again, the way they picture it on the screen, you know, like, okay, this is going to be this is going to come in handy. Like, they don't give you too much, they don't give away too much, but something's up. With this, it was just kind of like, oh, there's theater.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. Suddenly, the theater's just right there.
Yeah, let's go inside.
Literally, they didn't even walk.
Let's go inside.
The theater was like if you came out of Oxford Circus Station and the night town is just right there.
Yeah.
That's literally what it was.
I loved as well. They just stayed downstairs.
They just stayed.
The theater's massive. You didn't go in there.
They stayed downstairs. They didn't bother exploring because imagine if they was infected in there.
That's what I'm saying. They just went in and closed the door.
Gone and do their business.
Done, dusted.
And that's it.
And then the way the episode ends is that they hear on the radio that, there's been an explosion. I think it was at the hospital or something.
I think it was the hospital, yeah.
And so they know that Abby is there, or her crew is there anyways. And they go upstairs, where the ladder should be, and they look across and they see all the smoke and stuff, and they're just like, right, that white building, that's where we need to go. But realistically, what should have happened in this episode? Let's before we end this podcast, let me just tell you how this episode should have ended, okay? Ellie should have did the whole explanation with the whole, I'm infected, but I'm not infected because I'm immune, blah, blah, blah. Dina tells her I'm pregnant. Ellie gets upset, proper vex and everything. They go to sleep. They wake back up. Ellie now goes to the front part of the theater, sees that there's a guitar there. She picks it up, sits down, and then she should have a flashback to Joel and Ellie at the Natural History Museum. And once that scene ends, that's how the game should have ended. Ellie's getting ready to go out and leave Dina there. But instead, what happens is they hold hands and they say, we go together.
Yeah.
Are they changing that? Are they changing that as well? Because in the game, let me tell you something, they leave Dina there because she's pregnant. Ellie now needs to go out on her own. And then this is where Jesse finds her later on.
Yeah.
I hope next week they're not going out together again, because then they've completely changed the game again.
Or the way it could have ended is that they had their arguments, they split their ways. Dina sleeps downstairs, Ellie sleeps where the front of the theater is, right? And then that's when the episode should have ended. Cool. So then the next episode should be the flashback of the Natural History Museum, all right? Or whatever zoo it is, right?
Yeah.
And then once that flashback ends, we see the intro of, The Last of Us and such. And then the episode should start of Ellie waking up, like, quite shocked. And we see the guitar next to her, all right? And then, after that, she should go back downstairs, tells Dina, look, you need to stay here, look after yourself. I need to go and find Abby. We don't have time.
Yeah, you need to stay. You've got
that explosion just happened. That means that Ellie's there. That means Abby is there.
Yeah.
I need to go there. I can't waste time. Dina, you're slowing me down.
But there's no urgency. There is no urgency.
There is no urgency. You know what they say? Hold my hand, Jamelia. We're going together.
We're holding hands, by the way.
Yeah.
We go together.
We go together. Like if it was some Avengers film.
Avengers, assemble!
Steve Rogers, we're going together.
We're going together.
And then that's it.
What an ending. Like, it's just tragic.
Again, scripted. Like, it is the most scripted thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it feels like I'm literally walking that path and I'm just passing every single part that is supposed to happen. Like I said, the best part about this episode this week was Isaac. That whole, if they had just made this whole episode about Isaac, I would have been happy.
Yeah.
Because we got to see how dark this man can be. And this is, the whole thing with part 2 compared to part 1 was how dark it was.
Yeah.
This feels lighter than season 1.
I'm more disappointed in this than season 1, I'm not going to lie. And that hurts me because I love The Last of Us too.
Yeah, season 1 was on point. Season 1 was definitely on point. And that's why I was so excited for this season, because the game has so much more elements to it.
Which could have been, it could have been very theatrical. It could have been very epic.
But they haven't done that so far.
It's scripted. It's just, it's It's TV nonsense. That's what it is. It's TV nonsense, typical HBO stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just...
I do wonder if it's because of them sometimes.
It's Craig Mazin. It's Craig Mazin and anyone else that...
We need to have words.
It's anyone else that wrote these episodes. Who's this? Right, Craig Mazin, Mark Mylode. Who the flip is that? Peter Hoare. Yeah. Kate Herron. Yeah, so far. So and then episode 5 is Stephen Williams. Still Craig Mazin with the direction.
But then we've got Neil Druckmann.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Episode 6.
6 and 7?
If
they don't slap...
6 and 7, they need to hit. Yeah. I want to be hit hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a ride. Oh, before we end it as well, I just want to throw it out there that IGN gave this episode a 9.
Yeah, better than episode 2 apparently, and 1.
Yeah. So
in fact, episode 9 apparently is better than the entire season, because they gave the entire season 6.
Yeah, you mean episode 4?
They gave episode 4 a better score than the overall season.
Which is interesting. I thought this episode was like an 8. It started off as an 8, but then the last 20 minutes, I'll be honest, it kind of dropped it to like a 6. It was still better than last week's, but...
Yeah, last week's one was a 4.
Yeah,
This week is 5, personally for me. I'm sorry.
I'll give it the benefit of the doubt of a 6, because the Isaac scenes were great.
Isaac can't save the entire episode. Look, again, if you reach this far and you haven't played the game, he dies. So you can't, he doesn't save the show. Anyways, yeah.
But honestly, please, let us know if you have been watching this season and you haven't played the games. We would really love to know what you think about it so far. And if it makes sense to you. Are you feeling anything from it? Because it is a little bit more difficult for us because we've played the game. So obviously we will compare it to the game. But we do try to watch it as someone who hasn't played the game. And by doing that, it still does feel rushed. And we know it's not going to be exactly like the game because it's for TV, and TV adaptation is different to game adaptation. We know the whole thing. But so far, season 1 has been better than season 2, which is a shame. It did pick up a bit with this episode compared to last week, but let's hope next week we can bump this thing back up to at least a 7. Come on, guys. Come on. We can do this. But yeah, thank you all again for listening in and tuning in every week. We've got, 3 more episodes left to go. So we're closing in on the end. So it'll be at the end of May, I think it ends. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing these podcasts. If you did like this podcast, please hit the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Green.Emo.
And you can find me at That Guy Jakey Gaming on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to that. I really, really appreciate that. Warming into 2,000 subscribers, so that's my end of the year goal, which I think I should hit that soon. So.
Oh, I definitely think you will. So yeah, definitely subscribe to That Guy Jakey. Well, thank you all again for listening, and we will see you next week.
Take it easy.